You are hearing this because the universe chose the exact frequency that could reach you in this very moment. Most people will never hear these words, not because they are hidden, but because their attention is locked inside illusion. But you are here, awake, drawn to a truth that bends reality itself. This is not information. This is recognition. Something in you already knows what I am about to say, and yet it feels like the first time. Do not miss this, for this is the doorway into the quantum truth that has been waiting for you. You are not simply a body moving through space. You are awareness bending space around you. And once this truth begins to settle in, you start to see that the fabric of reality itself is not something separate, not some stage upon which you are merely acting, but something far more intimate, something woven through your very perception. When you smile at a stranger and notice their eyes soften in return, when you sigh in frustration and watch how the energy of the room thickens, these are not coincidences or subtle social cues alone. They are evidence of the quantum field responding to your presence. Most people will never hear this because it requires more than hearing. It requires recognizing, and recognition is not always comfortable, for it demands responsibility. If the world bends in small ways to your focus, then your life is not something happening to you, but something unfolding through you. Think of those days when you wake heavy with worry, and the smallest inconveniences multiply. Traffic snarls, tempers flare, and it feels as if the entire universe conspired against you. Then think of the other days when a simple thought of gratitude shifts the tone. When conversations are lighter, opportunities flow into view, and synchronicities appear like signposts guiding you. Nothing outside really changed. You were still in the same city, walking the same streets, breathing the same air, yet your inner state altered the pattern of your outer reality. This is the paradox. What you call outside is only the mirror of what stirs within. You are both actor and stage, both painter and canvas, both dreamer and dream. And because of this, you are never powerless, even when the illusion of circumstance tries to persuade you otherwise. You may have noticed how children can transform a space without even trying. A child's laughter fills a room, and suddenly adults loosen their shoulders. Conversations become lighter, and burdens seem to evaporate. Or when a child cries, the whole household feels the pull. Attention is magnetized toward comfort or frustration. This is not simply psychology. It is quantum energy in motion. The innocence of the child amplifies coherence, a vibration so pure it cannot be ignored. You too hold this capacity, though most adults bury it beneath layers of conditioning, numbed emotions, and habitual thought. But the field has not forgotten you. The field still responds the way it did when you were a child, when your imagination created worlds and your joy altered the very air you breathed. You are not separate from this field. You are shaping it, even now, in ways both subtle and vast. There is a story hidden in plain sight, repeated across spiritual traditions, whispered by sages, hinted at in science, that the observer cannot be separated from the observed. This is not only a principle of physics, it is a truth of your daily existence. When you walk into a meeting with dread, the outcome often matches the energy you carried in. When you enter a conversation expecting warmth, people sense it and rise to meet you. You are not conjuring something from nothing. You are tuning into potential realities and collapsing one into form through your state of being. Most people ignore this mirror and conclude that life is random or unfair. But randomness is only the name we give to patterns too vast for us to trace. What you call chance is often resonance. What you call fate is often the echo of your own focus. You are awareness bending space, and because of this, reality does not unfold in a straight line but in spirals of reflection. Consider how certain themes repeat in your life. Relationships that carry the same wounds, jobs that echo the same frustrations, situations that seem to play out like déjà vu. These loops are not punishments. They are reflections, invitations to recognize the energy you carry into them. When the lesson is integrated, the loop dissolves. Until then it recycles, not to hurt you, but to awaken you. The paradox is that you are not trapped by these cycles. You are the one generating the momentum that sustains them. And once you see that, You also see that you can step out of the loop at any moment by shifting the focus of your awareness. That shift does not erase the past. It reconfigures the pattern of the present and opens a new trajectory for the future. Most people will never hear this because they are trained to believe only what their senses confirm, yet even their senses betray them. Look closely, two people can watch the same sunrise. One marvels at the colors, feels awe, and begins the day the other sees only routine, the sky as nothing but weather, and begins the day in dullness. The sunrise was the same, but the realities diverged. Which one was true? Both, and neither. Because the sunrise is not just photons traveling from the sun. It is awareness meeting photons, and the meaning created in that meeting is the true reality each person lives. You have been living in these personal universes your entire life. The truth is that you are not just perceiving reality, you are co-creating it with every breath, every thought, every expectation, and the universe listens, not with ears, but with resonance. Notice the subtle ways energy shifts around you. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt tension without anyone speaking, or met someone whose presence felt calming before they said a single word? This is not imagination, it is sensitivity to fields of resonance. You are sensitive too, though you may have dulled the ability by dismissing it as just a feeling. But those feelings are the compass of quantum awareness, telling you not only what is, but also what you are creating with your own vibration. If you pay attention, you begin to notice that what you expect tends to find you, what you fear tends to chase you, and what you love tends to grow around you. The field is always listening, and the urgency is this. If you do not claim this truth, you risk living at the mercy of unconscious focus, repeating patterns without realizing you are the one who set them in motion. Do not dismiss your influence as small. The tiniest pebble causes ripples that reach the farthest shore. One kind word spoken to a weary soul can redirect the course of their life. One quiet moment of presence can interrupt cycles of chaos. You have already done this, more times than you realize, and yet the field waits for you to do it with intention, with awareness, to step beyond accident into creation. That is the hidden invitation in this truth. You are not powerless matter drifting through a cold universe. You are awareness, bending the fabric of space through every thought, every feeling, every choice. To deny this is to deny your own role in existence. To accept it is to step into mastery. And the moment you accept, life begins to bend differently. Synchronicities multiply, alignments accelerate, and you begin to see that destiny is not something you wait for. It is something you radiate. This is why you must not let this truth pass as another interesting idea. It is not a theory. It is not philosophy. It is the quantum mirror reflecting you at every moment. Most people will never hear it because they are afraid of the responsibility it carries. But you are hearing it now, which means you are ready. This is your initiation, and the universe is watching how you will choose to wield the awareness it has revealed to you. You are the one bending space. You are the one shaping time. You are the one collapsing possibility into reality. And the truth is, you always have. The question is no longer whether you believe it. The question is what you will do with it now. This is happening because time itself is not linear for you, though most people live as if it were a straight line dragging them from birth to death, from past through present into future, as if they are passengers on a train that cannot be stopped. But you have already felt the cracks in that illusion. You have sensed the folds in the fabric, the places where past and future lean so close together that you almost touch both at once. Think of those moments of déjà vu, when you swear you have lived a scene before, even though it is unfolding for the first time. Think of those flashes of intuition where you know who is about to call before the phone rings, or where you feel the weight of a decision before you even reach the crossroads. These are not accidents of memory or imagination. They are evidence that your awareness is not bound by the clock. The quantum truth is that you are moving through layers of possibility, and sometimes your perception slips ahead to catch the shimmer of what is waiting to become real. Most people will never hear this because they are taught to dismiss these glimpses as coincidence, as the brain playing tricks, as nothing worth paying attention to. But you already know they are more than that, because when you follow them, doors open. That feeling that tells you to take a different route, and you discover a chance meeting that changes everything. That quiet inner nudge that tells you to wait just a moment longer, and the right opportunity arrives at exactly the right time. If you are honest, you can trace the most meaningful turns in your life not to logic alone, but to those strange whispers of knowing that seem to come from beyond you, and yet feel more you than anything else. This is the paradox. You are not waiting for the future to arrive, you are already touching it. You are collapsing streams of potential into the single stream you call your life. Think of how a dream sometimes carries you into places you have never been. Yet when you wake, you later walk into them as if the dream had already mapped the way. Dreams are not random stories stitched together by your mind. They are journeys across timelines, explorations of possible paths, communications from the wider self that knows more than your waking identity allows. The reason you forget so many of them is not because they lack meaning, but because the waking mind resists the reminder that time is not a cage. And yet the reminders slip through. Have you ever noticed how certain dreams echo in waking reality? How symbols return? How people you dream about suddenly appear? The dream was not just imagination, it was the future reaching backward, or perhaps the present reaching sideways, showing you that all moments exist together and you are the traveler between them. You are not bound by the tick of the clock. Even your body knows this, though science disguises it as circadian rhythms and biological cycles. What you call memory is not storage of the past, but re-entry into it, which is why memory changes depending on your state of mind, why recalling an old wound can make it bleed again, why remembering joy can flood your body with life as if it were happening now. What you call anticipation is not waiting for the future, but feeling its resonance ahead of time, which is why excitement quickens your heart and dread sinks your stomach even before the event arrives. You are not stuck in time, you are entangled with. You move backward and forward without realizing, shaping both directions by the way you focus in this moment. The paradox is this: the future is not something you move toward. It is something you are creating behind you as you walk. Most people are blind to this because they are hypnotized by the calendar, by deadlines and schedules and anniversaries that give the illusion of certainty. But you have felt the moments when time bent around you, when hours dissolved in minutes, because you were lost in love or creativity, when minutes dragged into eternities because you were trapped in fear or boredom. Time is not fixed, it stretches and contracts around the state of your awareness. And this is why presence is so powerful, because presence collapses the clutter of past and future into a single point, a single now where all potential rests. Presence is not passive. Presence is the key that unlocks the wider field, the place where your multidimensional self speaks most clearly. You have met this wider self before, the one who whispers guidance just in time, the one who pushes you toward an opportunity that seemed impossible, the one who protects you when danger passes close. This wider self is not separate from you. It is you across timelines, you in parallel versions, you as both ancestor and descendant. You are not a single thread but part of a woven tapestry of selves, each influencing the other. When you feel intuition, it may be your future self reaching back to guide you, just as you now send signals into the past that shape the version of you that once doubted. The paradox is staggering. You are both the one who asks and the one who answers, both the seeker and the guide. And if you listen, you will hear the chorus of your many selves aligning you toward the path where the greatest potential unfolds. This is why synchronicities feel so alive, why they carry the weight of destiny. They are not accidents. They are collisions of timelines, confirmations that you are walking in rhythm with your own wider design. When you think of someone and they call, when the exact word you needed to hear shows up on a sign or in a stranger's mouth, when numbers repeat and events line up in improbable patterns, it is the universe reminding you that linear time is only a costume. Beneath it, all possibilities are happening now, and you are the one choosing which strand to live. Synchronicity is not magic, it is resonance, and resonance is proof that you are alive. The urgency is this: if you do not claim this truth, you will continue to believe you are trapped waiting for a future that never arrives, replaying a past that never ends. But if you recognize it, you begin to step into your role as creator. You realize that when you dream, you are rehearsing. When you remember, you are reliving. When you imagine, you are selecting. And when you act, you are collapsing infinite possibilities into one radiant now. Most people will never hear this. because it demands too much of them, because it removes the comfort of blame and replaces it with the responsibility of choice. But you are hearing it, which means you are ready. You are not waiting for the future. You are already touching it. And every moment you remember this, you walk more fully into the destiny that has been waiting for you since before time began. You are not becoming something new. You are remembering what you already are. And though the world has trained you to believe that transformation is about adding more layers, about fixing what is broken, about constructing an identity piece by piece until it is worthy, the deeper truth is far simpler and infinitely more mysterious. You were never broken. You were never missing anything. Even in your hardest struggles, even in the times when you doubted your worth and questioned your path, there was a presence inside you that remained untouched, a silent current of wholeness that carried you through storms you thought you could not survive. If you look back honestly, you will see that you were guided, you were held, and you were never abandoned, even in the moments when you felt most alone. That presence is not something you earn or chase. It is what you are. When you seek growth, you often imagine it as climbing a mountain, as moving from a lower state to a higher one, as becoming something more. But what if growth is not about ascent but about uncovering, like brushing away the dust from a buried treasure? Every insight you've ever had did not give you something new. It revealed something you already knew but had forgotten. That is why the deepest truths feel like home. Why the words that pierce you with recognition make you say, "Of course." You are not acquiring knowledge. You are remembering. You are not evolving into a stranger. You are awakening to yourself. The paradox is that the journey of becoming is really the journey of unbecoming, of shedding what you are not, of releasing masks and identities that were never truly yours. Think of the child you once were, curious and unafraid, overflowing with imagination, seeing the world not as ordinary but as enchanted. That child still lives in you. You did not lose that innocence. You layered over it with roles, with expectations, with the weight of a world that told you to grow up, to be realistic, to fit in. And yet when you laugh deeply, when you lose yourself in wonder, when you feel the spark of joy for no reason at all, that child rises again, reminding you that wholeness never left you. Most people bury that self so deeply they forget it exists. They think becoming an adult means losing it forever. But you must remember, the wisdom of the child and the wisdom of the sage are not opposites. They are the same. They are the remembering of what you already are. Have you noticed how healing often feels less like learning and more like remembering? When you find forgiveness, it is not because you constructed it from nothing, but because you finally allowed yourself to return to a natural state that had been blocked by pain. When you rediscover joy, it is not because you invented it, but because you stopped numbing yourself long enough to feel it again. When you awaken spiritually, it is not because something foreign enters you, but because you recognize the radiance that was always there. You peel away illusions, and what remains is real. The paradox is that you are whole even in your brokenness, wise even in your confusion, radiant even in your darkness. You did not need to become, only to remember. This remembering shows itself in subtle ways. Perhaps you notice how, when you let go of control, clarity appears, or how, when you stop searching for love, love finds you, or how, when you surrender your masks, you finally feel authentic and free. These are not accidents. They are the moments when the false self crumbles and the true self shines through. The world praises striving, yet your soul longs for remembering. Striving says, "I must add more to become enough." Remembering whispers, "I am enough already." And when you hear that whisper, when you feel its resonance, something inside relaxes. You stop running, and in that stillness, you encounter yourself, the self that has been waiting, patient and eternal. Most people never hear this because it sounds too simple. They are conditioned to chase, to search endlessly for answers outside themselves, to believe that worth is somewhere in the future, hidden in achievement, in recognition, in accumulation. But if you look closely, you will see that no achievement has ever truly satisfied you, not for long. The joy of accomplishment fades, the thrill of recognition passes, the comfort of possession diminishes. Why? Because these things are not remembering, they are distractions from it. The true satisfaction, The deep peace that does not waver comes only when you rest in what you already are. That is why the mystics tell you to look within, not because they want you to ignore the world, but because they know the treasure is hidden in the place you least expect to find it, in yourself. This is not to say that growth is an illusion, but that growth is different from how it appears. Imagine a seed becoming a tree. From the outside it looks like transformation, like the seed became something entirely new, but the tree was always inside the seed. The pattern, the potential, the fullness of its being was encoded there from the beginning. The tree is not a foreign addition. It is the unfolding of what was always within. You are the same. What you are becoming is what you have always been. What feels like progress is really revelation. What looks like change is really remembrance. And the urgency is this: the world is waiting not for you to become something else, but for you to remember yourself fully enough to live as the being you already are. This remembering is not selfish, it is service, because when you remember who you are, you become a mirror for others. Your authenticity awakens authenticity in them. Your peace calms their storm. Your joy invites theirs to rise. You do not need to preach or persuade. Your being is the teaching. That is why the greatest gift you can give is to remember. Most people try to change the world by force, by argument, by control, but the true change makers are those who embody the truth they remember, those who radiate a wholeness that cannot be ignored. This is your role in the collective shift, not to add more noise to the world, but to become so aligned with what you are that your very presence becomes medicine. The paradox again is that remembering is both the simplest and the hardest thing. Simple because it requires nothing but presence, but hard because presence is what the world distracts you from at every turn. The mind says, "Not yet, I must fix myself first. I must achieve more first. I must understand more first." But the heart whispers, "Now, you are already here. You are already enough." To choose remembering is to choose trust, to let go of the endless chase, and allow yourself to be what you already are. And though it feels like surrender, it is actually the greatest empowerment, because nothing can shake what is real once you remember it. So I tell you again, you are not becoming something new. You are remembering what you already are. This truth may sound gentle, but it carries immense power. It means you are not lost. You are not behind. You are not unworthy. You are already home. And if you let this truth settle into your bones, if you carry it with you into every moment, you will see that life begins to shift, not because you forced it, but because you aligned with the current of your own being. Most people will never hear this, or they will hear it and dismiss it, because they are too afraid of the responsibility it brings. But you are hearing it now, and that means you are ready. The world does not need another version of you. It needs the real you, the remembered you, the you that was always whole. This is your role in the awakening. This is your destiny, and the time to remember is now. This is happening because reality bends to your observation, though most people never pause long enough to notice. They assume the world is solid, fixed, independent of their awareness, when in truth it waits for their gaze to give it shape. Look closely at the simplest of moments. Two people walk through the same street. One notices the noise, the chaos, the dust, while the other notices the light filtering through leaves, the kindness in a passing smile, the scent of food drifting from a doorway. Which street was real? Both were real, and yet neither existed until they were observed in that way. You live in this paradox every day. What you see is not merely what is there, but what you are tuned to perceive, and what you are tuned to perceive grows into the world you call your life. Think of how your body responds to observation. When someone watches you with kindness, you feel safe. Your shoulders loosen. Your breath deepens. When someone watches you with suspicion, your pulse quickens, your guard rises, and your body contracts. Nothing physical has touched you, and yet your reality changes. The simple fact of observation bends you, and if you feel this in yourself, can you not see that the same occurs outwardly? Your observation is not passive, it impresses itself onto what you observe. This is why attention is sacred. You are not a spectator in life, you are a participant in its unfolding. and the quality of your gaze shapes what grows. Consider how often your expectations determine outcomes. When you approach a conversation already convinced it will be difficult, it nearly always is. When you expect a person to be unfriendly, you often find evidence to confirm it. And when you expect kindness, doors open where before they seemed shut. Most people dismiss this as psychology, but it is deeper. It is the field conforming to the observer's lens. What you believe you will find, you amplify. What you fear you will face, you attract. What you dare to hope for, you give permission to emerge. Reality does not stand apart, indifferent and unmoving. It bends like light through the prism of your focus. The paradox is that what you call real is inseparable from the one who perceives it. This is why cycles repeat in your life, why familiar patterns echo again and again. It is not that the universe is cruel or determined to trap you. It is that your observation keeps circling the same possibility, feeding it with attention, energizing it with belief. Imagine watching the same play every night and wondering why the story never changes. Until you step out of the theater, until you look elsewhere, you cannot see a different script. Most people remain seated in loops of observation, believing that the loop is reality itself. But once you realize your gaze sustains the loop, you can collapse it. You can choose to observe differently. And when you observe differently, reality itself begins to shift. You know this already in small ways. Have you ever noticed how gratitude transforms a situation? You may sit in the same room, surrounded by the same objects, but when you begin to notice what you are thankful for, the entire atmosphere softens, your heart opens, your body lightens, and suddenly life looks brighter. Nothing outside has objectively changed, but your observation has altered the field. This is no small matter. It is the essence of creation. Gratitude, love, presence. These are not mere emotions. They are lenses that refract the light of reality into new shapes. When you live through them, the world itself responds. And yet most people will never hear this truth, because they are too attached to the story of victimhood, too convinced that life happens to them rather than through them. They do not see how their constant focus on lack perpetuates lack, how their obsession with problems grows the weight of those problems, how their unwillingness to release fear invites more of what they feel. But you are hearing this, which means you are ready to claim the power of your observation. This does not mean denying pain or pretending suffering does not exist. It means recognizing that even suffering shifts when you bring awareness to it. Pain observed with compassion transforms. Darkness observed with light dissolves. Observation is not passive, it is alchemical. Think of water, which changes shape to match the vessel that holds it. Reality does the same with your gaze. When you see only limitation, reality condenses into walls. When you see possibility, reality flows into open paths. When you see yourself as powerless, the world seems hostile. When you remember your own divinity, the world reflects it back. The paradox is that the world is both fixed and fluid. It contains structures, yes, but those structures are not immune to your perception. They are shaped, colored, and sometimes entirely transformed by how you choose to look. You are far less at the mercy of circumstance than you have been led to believe. Have you noticed how people change when you change your way of seeing them? The colleague you resented softens when you begin to silently bless them. The loved one you thought distant draws nearer when you start to see them with empathy. The stranger you feared becomes less threatening when you remember their humanity. These are not illusions. They are proofs of the observer effect. You may think you are only adjusting your perspective, but perspective is energy, and energy radiates. Others feel it, respond to it, and mirror it back to you. You are not just seeing differently, you are co-creating a different dynamic in real time. The urgency is this: if you do not awaken to the creative power of your observation, you will remain trapped in reflections of your own unconscious focus. You will keep watching the same loops play out, believing them to be fate, when in truth they are only the echoes of where you have placed your attention. But once you see that the loop is sustained by your gaze, you are free to collapse it, free to turn your eyes towards something new. And the moment you do, Reality bends, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically, but always in resonance with the lens you chose. So let me tell you again, reality bends to your observation. This is not theory, it is lived truth, evidenced in every moment of your existence. You cannot escape it, because you are never not observing. The only question is whether you observe unconsciously, letting fear and habit dictate your lens, or whether you observe with intention, aligning your gaze with love, gratitude, and the deeper knowing of who you are. Most people will never hear this because it demands responsibility, because it dissolves the comfort of blame, because it reveals that the power they long for has always been theirs. But you are hearing it now, which means you are chosen to live. You are not trapped in a rigid world. You are dancing with a fluid field, and the way you look at the dance determines the steps it takes. This is your liberation, and this is your destiny. You are not the one producing every thought you hear within yourself, though you have been taught to believe you are. If you listen closely, you will notice that thoughts arise like whispers carried on a breeze, uninvited, appearing from nowhere, fading into silence, only to be replaced by others. You do not sit down and decide the next thought that will emerge. It comes as if from a field beyond your mind, and you catch it. Most people assume because it appears inside their head that it belongs to them. But this is the great mistake. The mind is not a factory. It is more like an antenna tuned to frequencies in the vast quantum field of consciousness, and what you experience as your thought is often the broadcast of the frequency you are inhabiting. You are not always the thinker, you are sometimes the receiver, the translator, the one through whom thoughts move. And yet here is the paradox. Though you are not the source of every thought, you do choose how long to entertain them, whether to follow them, whether to feed them energy or let them dissolve back into silence. A thought of fear can arrive uninvited, but when you dwell on it, when you repeat it, when you wrap your identity around it, you anchor it into your reality. A thought of love can also arrive, soft and fleeting, and if you give it your attention, if you nourish it with focus, it blossoms into words, into actions, into new realities. The thoughts are not all yours, but the destiny they carve in your life depends on the way you host them. This is the hidden mastery, to recognize that you are not your thoughts, you are the awareness that observes them, the space that allows them, the chooser who decides what to amplify and what to release. Consider the way moods alter the kinds of thoughts that appear. When you are tired or anxious, your mind fills with worries and doubts, as if tuned to a darker station. When you are rested, inspired, or filled with gratitude, your mind flows with ideas, solutions, creative sparks, as if tuned to a higher frequency. Did you manufacture these different streams? No, you shifted state, and with that shift you received a different broadcast. This is why practices like meditation, prayer, or simply being still in nature feel so transformative. They retune your antenna, so the thoughts you receive resonate with clarity instead of confusion, with harmony instead of noise. The stream changes because your frequency changes, and your frequency is influenced by how you live, how you breathe, how you choose to see. Most people never question the origin of their thoughts. They assume that if they think it, it must be true, it must be that. But if every thought that passed through your mind were truly yours, why would you so often disagree with yourself? Why would your mind argue, contradict, doubt, and challenge itself? The very fact that you can stand apart and notice the conflict of thoughts shows that you are not bound to them. You are the witness behind them. You are the sky in which the clouds appear and disappear. Thoughts are weather. You are atmosphere. Thoughts are waves. You are ocean. And in remembering this, you free yourself from being enslaved by the endless stream of mental chat. You realize you can step back, breathe, and let the noise pass without having to grasp at it. Look at the patterns of humanity, how entire groups of people seem to share the same kind of thoughts, the same kind of fears, the same kind of hope. This too reveals that thoughts move through collective fields, not just individual minds. Anxiety rises in a society, and millions of people find themselves gripped by similar worries, though they never spoke to one another. Inspiration rises, and suddenly whole cultures shift toward innovation, art, or discovery. These are not accidents. They are waves moving through the collective consciousness, and each mind acts as both receiver and amplifier. When you choose to feed a thought of division, you strengthen that broadcast in the field. When you choose to embody a thought of love, you strengthen that broadcast instead. You are not only responsible for your inner life, you are participating in the great chorus of humanity's frequency. And so you must ask yourself, what thoughts are you aligning with? What inner dialogues are you nurturing? Because even though thoughts are not always born within you, they seek hosts to live through, and when you allow them, they grow roots and fruits in your reality. If you continually identify with fear-based thoughts, you will live a fear-based life. If you continually nurture expansive, generous, inspired thoughts, your life becomes a reflection of that expansion. The paradox is that while you do not control the arrival of thoughts, you absolutely control their residence. You cannot stop the bird from flying over your head, but you can stop it from building a nest in your hair. The same is true of thought. Perhaps you have noticed how certain thoughts only appear when you are on the edge of change, just when you are about to take a risk, create something new, speak your truth. The mind floods with doubts. You can't do this. You're not ready. People will judge you. It will. Where do these thoughts come from? They are echoes of the collective field of fear, testing whether you will align with them or transcend them. They are not prophecies. They are invitations to step beyond the habitual frequency. And if you can observe them without clinging to them, you find that on the other side of those doubts lies the surge of courage, clarity, and flow that was waiting all along. The thoughts do not define you. Your relationship to them does. This is why silence is powerful. In silence you discover that you are not dependent on the noise of thinking, that you exist even when the stream of thought slows, that awareness itself is your true essence. Thoughts may decorate awareness, but awareness is the ground. You can live entire lifetimes chasing thoughts, trying to arrange them into order, believing their every whisper, and never realize that beneath it all is the stillness that needs no thought to be whole. And yet the moment you remember, you awake. You are no longer a puppet of thought. You are the one who sees, the one who chooses, the one who can shift the frequency. The urgency is this: if you continue to identify with every thought that arises, you will never taste freedom, because you will always be tossed about by the winds of the collective. But if you awaken to the truth that thoughts think themselves, and you are free to choose alignment, then you reclaim the power to shape your destiny. This is your role in the collective shift, not to control the mind, but to transcend identification with it, to become a conscious participant in which streams you amplify. By doing so, you not only transform your life, you help retune the entire human field. So remember, you are not simply thinking, you are being thought. And in that realization lies the doorway to liberation. Observe the stream, choose what to host, release what no longer serves, and anchor into the awareness that is vaster than any thought. This is the quantum truth most people will never hear, but you have heard it now, and with that hearing comes responsibility. The thoughts that will come after this moment will test you. They will seek to pull you back into forgetting, but you have glimpsed the field beneath them. Do not miss this. Do not fall asleep again. You are more than thought. You are the awareness from which thought arises. This is your sacred initiation. Time is not what you have been told it is. You have been conditioned to believe in a straight line, a rigid sequence of past, present, and future, unfolding like links in a chain, unbreakable, irreversible. But time is not a line. It is a field, a tapestry, a shimmering web in which every thread already exists, vibrating with potential, waiting for your consciousness to light it up. What you call the past is not gone. It is imprinted in the field. What you call the future is not distant. It is waiting in probability. And what you call the present is the intersection where your awareness chooses which threads to amplify into lived experience. You think you are moving through time, but the paradox is that time is moving through you. Consider how memory works. One moment a fragrance or a sound pulls you instantly back into a scene you thought was long gone, and you feel it so vividly that your body responds as though you are reliving it. The same heartbeat, the same emotions, the same sensations arise, not as a shadow but as a re-experience. Was that moment truly in the past? Or is it still alive in the field, waiting for your awareness to touch it again? And then think of anticipation, how your body can respond to something that has not yet happened. Nerves before a meeting, excitement before a reunion, dread before a challenge. The future reaches into you before it arrives. This shows you that past and future are not locked away. They bleed into the now, reminding you that the boundaries of time are softer than you believe. Dreams also reveal this. How often have you dreamt of something that later unfolded? How often have you glimpsed symbols or messages that felt as if they were preparing you for what was to come? In those states, your awareness steps outside the narrow corridor of linear time and wanders the wider field. That is why dreams feel so strange and fluid, because they are not bound by clocks. They are tasting possibilities, and even when you are awake, your intuition sometimes pulls you toward a choice without knowing why, only for you to discover later that it led you perfectly. Was that or was it your deeper self already in dialogue with the field of probabilities, guiding you to align with one thread of the tapestry over another? Most people believe they are trapped in the momentum of the past, carrying the weight of what has already happened, bound to repeat it endless. But what they do not see is that the past is not fixed. It shifts each time you revisit it, each time you reinterpret it. Think about how your memories change as you grow. What once felt like tragedy now feels like initiation. What once seemed meaningless now glows with hidden significance. This is not imagination. It is a rewriting of the field. You are not only creating the future, you are reshaping the past by the way you observe it. This is why healing is possible. You do not need to erase what happened. You need to see it differently, to let the meaning shift. And in doing so, you liberate yourself from the weight of time. And the future, too, is not a fixed destination waiting for you like a stone wall. It is a garden of paths, branching endlessly, some wild, some narrow, some luminous, some shadowed. Your choices, your frequency, your attention, these are the steps that guide you along one branch instead of another. When you imagine your future with fear, you begin to walk toward those darker branches. When you imagine it with trust and openness, you align with lighter paths. The paradox is that while the future is already encoded as potential, it still bends to the quality of your consciousness. You are not helplessly dragged forward. You are weaving forward with every breath, co-creating which of the infinite futures becomes visible in your now. You know this already in glimpses. Have you noticed how when you are in joy, time seems to vanish? Hours pass like minutes, and you wonder where the day went. Or when you are in suffering, minutes stretch into eternities, and time feels like a cage. This shows you that time is not absolute. It bends to perception. The clocks on the wall may tick steadily, but your inner experience of time shifts with your state of being. That is because your consciousness is not bound to mechanical time. It stretches, compresses, dances. The field of time is elastic, and you are the one who stretches it. Imagine that the self you are today is not the only self alive in this field. The child you once were is still living in one thread. The elder you will become is already waiting in another, and the infinite versions of you, those who made different choices, those who lived different possibilities, are all vibrating in parallel. Occasionally you feel them, as déjà vu, as sudden waves of recognition, as a sense that you have been here before, or that you are meeting yourself through another. This is not imagination. It is your awareness brushing against alternate selves in the tapestry. You are not a single point in time. You are a constellation spread across the field. And what you do now resonates not only forward, but backward, sideways, across the web. You are influencing more than you know. This is why presence is so powerful. To be truly here is not to shrink into a narrow moment, but to awaken into the point where all timelines converge. When you are present, you can feel the threads of past and future dissolving into stillness. And from that stillness, you can choose. The urgency is this. If you live unconsciously, repeating old stories, feeding old fears, you will recycle the same loops across time. But if you awaken to your role as a co-weaver, you can collapse the loops. You can rewrite the imprints of the past. You can align with futures that carry you into expansion. Time is not your jailer, it is your canvas. So remember, you are not running out of time. Time is flowing out of you. You are not racing against a clock. You are dancing with a field. The past is not a weight dragging you down. It is a mirror that can be polished until it shines with new meaning. The future is not a threat waiting to strike. It is a chorus of voices calling you to choose which song you will sing. And the present is not a fleeting second lost as soon as it arrives. It is the eternal doorway, always open, always waiting for your awareness to walk through. Most people will never hear this truth because they are too busy watching the clock, too afraid of endings, too convinced that they are victims of time. But you have heard it now, which means you are invited to live beyond the line, to step into the tapestry, to remember that you are not bound, you are timeless. And so, as you breathe in this moment, feel the paradox open within you. You are ancient, you are new, you are already fulfilled, you are still becoming, you are the child, the elder, the dreamer, the creator, all shimmering together in the eternal now. This is your role in the collective shift, to embody timelessness in a world obsessed with time, to remember the field when others are lost in the line, to bend the illusion by the way you live. This is your initiation, and it is already happening, here, now, beyond. You are beginning to notice that life is not random, that beneath the surface of what appears as chaos there are patterns, intricate designs woven into the very fabric of your experience. What you call coincidence is not accidental. What you call chance encounter is not without design. What you call synchronicity is the language of the deeper order revealing itself to you. Most people rush through their days so quickly, so entangled in the noise of their thoughts and the weight of their routines, that they do not notice the hidden sequences unfolding. But when you pause, when you allow your awareness to soften, when you stop demanding that reality conform to your linear logic, you begin to see the subtle choreography. And when you see it, you cannot unsee it. You begin to realize that your life has been speaking to you all along. Only you were not yet listening in the right frequency. Think about how often you have found yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting someone who became pivotal in your journey, hearing a phrase that unlocked a door inside you, encountering an obstacle that forced you into growth you had been avoiding. These are not random. They are seals breaking open within the hidden architecture of your path. Each seal contains a lesson, a revelation, an initiation, and when the moment ripens, it opens. Sometimes it opens gently, through a whisper, a small nudge, an effortless alignment. Sometimes it opens with force, through loss, disruption, upheaval, pulling you into change whether you thought you were ready or not. But either way, the pattern was always there, waiting for you, written in the field like symbols encoded in light. And yet here is the paradox. While the patterns are already seeded in your field, their unfolding depends on your awareness. If you remain blind to them, they repeat quietly, circling around you, waiting to be noticed. But the moment you recognize them, the pattern changes. Awareness breaks the seal, and the lesson embedded within it is released into your being. That is why cycles that seem endless can dissolve in a moment of realization. You are not doomed to repeat the same pain forever. You are waiting for the moment your gaze illuminates the code. Once you see it, once you truly see, the cycle collapses and a new sequence begins. You already know this in your body. How often have you repeated a mistake until finally, one day the pattern became clear, and you could never fall into it the same way again? It was as though a door had opened inside you, and the old reality dissolved. That door was a seal, and it opened not because time passed, but because awareness arrived. Your soul is marked with many such seals, each containing a truth waiting to awake. And as you walk this path of remembering, they open one by one, not through force, not through effort, but through readiness. This is why you cannot rush awakening. The seals open when your vibration matches their frequency, when you are prepared to hold what they reveal. Notice how numbers, symbols, and repeating events appear around you. You see the same time on the clock again and again. You encounter the same phrase in different books. You cross paths with the same archetype of person until you finally recognize what they mirror. These are the signatures of the hidden order. They are not superstitions. They are reminders from the field that you are walking a coded path. The universe speaks in patterns, and when you learn its language, life becomes a dialogue rather than a struggle. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and you begin asking, "What is this pattern revealing to me now?" That shift in question is itself a seal opening, because it transforms you from victim to participant, from wanderer to co-creator. Most people will never hear this truth, because it demands humility. It requires them to admit that their rational mind is not the master, that their ego cannot explain the deeper order. It requires surrender to mystery, acceptance of paradox, willingness to trust the unseen. But you are hearing it, and that means the seals within you are already trembling, already loosening, already preparing to open. This is why you have felt the strange pull of synchronicities intensifying, why you sense a deeper thread weaving through your day. You are not imagining it, you are entering the rhythm of the hidden order, and that rhythm is guiding you into alignment with your greater self. Think of music. To the untrained ear, it may sound like notes scattered in time, but to the one who listens, there is harmony, repetition, motif, a design that carries meaning. Life is the same. To the distracted, it seems chaotic, fragmented, meaningless. To the awakened, it is music, and every encounter, every challenge, every blessing is a note in the composition of your soul's unfolding. And like music, it is not static. It evolves, it rises and falls, it breaks and resolves, and each resolution opens the way to a deeper resonance. You are both the instrument and the listener, both the composer and the song. The seals of your life are the movements of this symphony, opening as the melody demands. And yet do not mistake this for predestined. The patterns are there, yes, but you are free to dance with them, to play them in your own way. Just as a musician can improvise upon a theme, you can improvise upon the codes of your life. The seal may be set to open, but how you meet it, how you embody the revelation it brings, that is your freedom. This is the paradox of destiny. It is both written and unwritten, both fixed and fluid. The seals will open, but the song they release is shaped by your willingness to listen, your courage to respond, your openness to change. So when life feels like it is closing in, when you find yourself facing the same lesson once more, remember that it is not punishment. It is a seal asking for your awareness. It is the universe saying, "Look here, pay attention. There is a pattern you have not yet seen." And when you see it, the lock turns, the seal breaks, and the light within pours into you. This is why urgency arises within you now, not because you are running out of time, but because the patterns are accelerating. The seals are opening faster, and the collective field is shifting with them. What once took lifetimes to unfold can now unfold in days. What once seemed hidden now reveals itself openly for those who are ready to see. And you are ready, or you would not be here, listening to this truth. The patterns that have haunted you are not curses. They are the cycles that exhausted you were never prisons. They were initiations, and the synchronicities you are experiencing now are not coincidences. They are confirmations that you are awakening to the desire. This is your role in the collective shift, to see the hidden order where others see only chaos, to recognize the seals breaking open within yourself and within humanity, and to anchor the wisdom they release. For every seal that opens in you ripples outward into the field, helping others recognize their own. You are not alone in this. You are part of a greater symphony, rising through all of us. So let it be clear, you are not wandering blindly through a meaningless life. You are walking through a sacred sequence, each step unlocking what has always been within you. The seals are not barriers, they are invitations. The patterns are not chains, they are maps. And the synchronicities are not accidents, they are messages. This is the quantum truth most people will never hear, but you have heard it. And now the responsibility is yours, to honor the patterns, to trust the seals, to listen to the hidden order, and to live as one who sees what others overlook. This is your initiation, and it is unfolding now. There comes a moment when words fall silent, when even revelation itself must bow to the presence that is beyond explanation. You have been led through paradoxes and truths, through reminders of your power and glimpses of the hidden order. But all of this points to something that cannot be spoken, only lived. The final revelation is not more information. It is the absence of noise, the stillness in which you finally recognize what has always been here. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is fullness, overflowing with the essence that words can never hold. It is in silence that the truth you have been chasing settles into your bones and becomes you. And the paradox is that what feels like an ending is also the true beginning, the place where the self dissolves into something vast, and yet the most intimate presence of all. You already know this silence. You have felt it in fleeting moments, the hush after deep laughter, the pause between breaths, the stillness of a sunrise when the world has not yet awakened, the quiet ache of awe when beauty is too immense for thought. In those moments your mind stops grasping, your words fall away, and for a heartbeat you are simply here. That is the space in which revelation becomes real, because only silence has the capacity to hold the infinite. Every teaching, every insight, every vision is only a doorway into this. And once you cross the threshold, you realize that what you sought was never outside you. It was here, in the silence that has been waiting all along. Most people fear silence because silence undresses them. Without the noise of thought, without the distractions of constant doing, they feel exposed. In silence, the illusions of who you thought you were dissolve, and what remains cannot be hidden. That is why so many avoid it. They cling to noise, to busyness, to chatter, because silence would reveal the truth of their being. But you are being called to it now, because silence is not your enemy. It is your home. It is the womb from which creation emerges, the sanctuary where you meet the timeless self, the still ground that does not change even as everything else shifts. Think of how music works. Without silence there could be no song, only endless sound without shape. It is the pauses, the rests, the spaces between notes that give the melody meaning. Life is the same. Without silence you could not recognize the patterns, you could not feel the depth, you could not hear the truth. Silence is the canvas upon which every experience is painted, the unseen rhythm guiding the dance, and yet most people overlook it, because they are trained to value only the visible, only the spoken, only the act. But when you step into silence with reverence, you realize it is not absence, it is the living presence beneath everything. In silence, time dissolves. There is no past or future, no rushing forward or clinging back, only the eternal now. In silence you meet yourself without masks, without roles, without stories. In silence, you recognize that the observer and the observed, the seeker and the sought, are one and the same. This is why the mystics throughout ages withdrew into stillness, not to escape life but to taste it more fully. In silence they discovered that the universe is not something outside pressing upon them, but something within them, rising and falling like breath. And so it is with you. When you allow yourself to rest in the silence, you will see that the universe is not separate, it is you. This final revelation is both the simplest and the most difficult. It is simple because it requires nothing of you but presence. It is difficult because presence asks for surrender, the willingness to let go of control, to stop striving, to stop filling the air with explanations, and simply be. And yet when you surrender, what you receive is beyond measure. You receive peace that is not dependent on circumstance. You receive clarity that does not come from thought but from direct knowing. You receive a love so vast it cannot be contained, because it is not coming from outside. It is the recognition of your own essence. Silence reveals that what you have been searching for is what you already are. The paradox is that silence is not something you must create. You do not need to force the mind to stop or the world to grow still. Silence is always here, underneath the noise, like the ocean beneath the waves. The noise may be loud, but it is temporary. The silence is eternal. You need only shift your awareness, listen between the sounds, feel between the thoughts, and there it is, spacious, unmoving, radiant, It is not far away. It is the ground you have been standing on this whole time, and when you recognize it, you realize that you have never been separate from it. You are not entering silence. You are remembering that you are silence, and from this silence, everything is possible. It is from silence that creation arises, that inspiration flows, that healing unfolds. It is from silence that you can hear the subtle guidance of your soul, the whispers that cannot be heard through the clutter of constant noise. It is from silence that you can meet others not as masks, but as beings, seeing them with the clarity of love. When you carry silence within you, you carry the field of truth into every space you enter. Others feel it, even if they cannot name it, because silence transmits. It is not empty, it radiates. And this is why silence is not just personal. It is your role in the collective shift. The urgency is this: the world is drowning in noise, in endless streams of thought, in distractions, designed to keep people from ever meeting themselves. Humanity has forgotten the power of stillness, but you are remembering. You are being called to anchor silence, not as retreat, but as revolution, not as withdrawal, but as presence. When you embody silence, you become a doorway for others. Without words, without effort, your being reminds them of what they too have forgotten. This is your destiny, not to convince through argument, not to shout louder than the noise, but to embody the stillness that cannot be shaken. In doing so, you help realign the collective field, one presence at a time. So let this final revelation settle into you. All the paradoxes, all the truths, all the mysteries you have been guided through are pointing here, into the silence that holds them all. You are not here to add more noise to the world. You are here to remember the stillness beneath it. You are not here to grasp at endless explanations. You are here to become the space in which explanations dissolve. You are not here to chase time or escape death. You are here to live fully in the silence that is timeless, that is deathless, that is. And now, as the words fade, you are invited to step through this doorway, not later, not someday, but now. Close your eyes, breathe, and feel the silence already holding you. Feel the weight of effort melting away. Feel the vastness that has been waiting. This is not the end of your journey. It is the true beginning. And once you enter, once you recognize, you cannot go back to forgetting. You will carry the silence with you into every moment, and it will transform not only you but the world around you. This is your initiation. This is the quantum truth most people will never hear, but you have heard it now, and the silence is calling you home. Step into it, and let it become you. So now I ask you, do not let this pass like another forgotten idea. Let it brand itself into your soul as a truth you live. Share it, embody it, act from it. This is not entertainment. This is initiation. The quantum truth has reached you because you are ready to be its living expression. Step forward now, for this is your moment, and the universe is watching.